Welcome back. We're just waiting for the rest to join the video conference again, and then we're gonna continue. Okay, we got 11 now.
Hello?
Hello? Adasorto, now we can hear you.
Yes, finally.
Yeah, you got a problem with the microphone, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, well, good thing that you are here now.
Yes, I'm going to participate.
Excellent. Okay, so let's continue. Um, Here we have more theory about that. I'm gonna read this one. So it says traditional teaching, right? The teacher would listen to each student's recitation and they were expected to study and memorize the assignments. At the end of the module, a written test or oral examination would be conducted. This process was called an assignment study recitation test. Now, probably you are familiar with this methodology. Maybe if you, well, I don't know how old are you, but I'm 31. So in those days, we used to get at school, I'm talking about school, we used to get questionnaires and we used to memorize the questions and the answers. And then we had a test, and well, all the tests were like, some of them were multiple choice, and then you had to memorize the answer, and that was the whole thing. That was learning. And that was the traditional methodology, that was the traditional methodology. Our parents, they grew up in that way, and they have some negative opinions about modern teaching methodology. However, when you study the theory and all the advantages and disadvantages, then you realize that reflecting is not something negative. I mean, memorizing information, it's not bad. I mean, it's good when you know how to use it. For example, how about if I assign you to memorize all this information? What would you say? What would you say if I ask you, okay, you're gonna memorize all this information? Would you do it?
No,
Why not?
there is a lot of information. It's easier for me to try to interpret all the information instead of memorize every word.
Okay.
First, we are not robots.
Yeah, that's a
I
good
think
point.
I think it's a better idea to understand every point or the most important part of every paragraph or the main idea, opposite to memorize this big information or a lot of text.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, imagine that if I am that kind of teacher, and I'm checking the commas and I'm checking the periods. I mean, that's not learning. You know what I mean? Um, that's not the way, in my opinion. I think that making you understand, making you reflect, creating your own concept. Using this information wisely, making it yours, that would be the appropriate way. You know what I mean? Like, maybe not memorizing all the text, but understanding the differences, understanding the most important aspects. Okay, that is learning. I mean, for me, it's not useful that you memorize all this, but if you don't understand it, then it's useless. You know what I mean? It is different that if you understand it, and then if you think about the reasons why you shouldn't do something. So that is my opinion about this traditional teaching. So I'm not saying that it's all negative, but what I'm saying is that we can use it wisely. Okay, for example, in our area, I can ask you to memorize the irregular verbs. Irregular verbs. I can ask you that because they're not too many, and they are necessary. You know, that's necessary. That's something that is. I mean, you can't change that. I can ask you to memorize formulas. You know, because they are that way. There's no other way. However, I'm not going to ask you to memorize like a text of 2 pages or 3 pages because in a couple of years you're gonna forget that you're gonna forget about it and what like there's no point in that. So look at this. Let me see. Okay, Alban, would you mind helping me?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Traditional teaching, the way in which traditional methods were taught, ensured that students were rewarded for their effort, used class periods efficiently, and exercised clear rules to manage students' behavior.
Thank you. So the way in which traditional methods were taught ensured that students were rewarded for their efforts, used class periods efficiently, and exercised clear rules to manage the students' behavior. Now, with traditional methodology, one thing that I would say that I don't think that is that bad is the behavior. Um, they were very, very rude when giving rules. You know what I mean? Laws in El Salvador have changed. You know this Lepina law, right? So that's something that you have to know. The Lepina's law, it's a big deal, buddy. If you work in public schools or private schools, that's a big deal when you're working with underage students. You know what I'm saying? it's
Yes,
it's
yes, of course.
difficult. So nowadays you cannot use these type of rules. You know, in the past, teachers they used to punish students. You know, they used to punish the students. They used to hit people with a ruler. They used to have ropes. You know, when I was in sixth grade, I remember that I was into a fight with a partner. I was just sitting down, and my classmate, his name was Miguel. Miguel just went to me and he hit me in my chest with his hand, what we normally call pechada in Spanish. Okay, so I stood up and I kicked him. You know, he was very short, so I kicked him, and he fell down. And my teacher, his name was Francisco. So he got a rope, and the rope was very wet, you know, and he hit us, both of us, with the rope, you know, and we didn't say anything, you know, and that was a physical punishment. Now, if you do it nowadays, a teacher can go to jail for that. So those,
Mister, I don't remember that.
yes.
I don't remember doing that.
Oh no, it was another Miguel. Yeah, it was another Miguel, but yeah, he's probably in the USA. I don't know. All my classmates are in the USA now. But anyway, um, those rules those rules were kind of, you know, rough, if you ask me.
Those kind, those kind of things are unforgettable
Yeah,
sometimes.
definitely. And you know, teachers they had the control of everything. I mean, they could hit you, and if you tell your parents, then your parents hit you again. So it would be better to just stay there quiet. So they used to manage class behavior in that way, you know, very rude, in a rude way. They could humiliate you and nothing happened. Now that is something that I don't really like, and maybe has some positive things because like a teacher could have the control of the class, yes, but you know, at what price? Now, nowadays, there are other techniques that without punishing people, you can get them involved. You can motivate them, in your classes. And there are sometimes really difficult students that they have uh, different problems that you cannot, I mean, you're not going to handle everything, your class is not going to be perfect. But that's how things happened, and of course the teacher like used to reward people, like they used to say, oh, look at Miguel, he's a great student, I'm gonna give him an apple after the class or whatever. They used to reward students as well, or they used to praise them. Okay, let's continue. Let's see. We're gonna ask, let me see somebody that hasn't participated. Okay. Jancy Membreño, would you mind? Jancy, are you there? Are you up?
I'm here.
There you go.
I'm here. Is traditional teaching, right?
Yes.
Uh, they were based on established customs that had been used successfully in schools over many years. The teacher communicated the knowledge and effort standard of behavior.
Okay. So they were based on established customs that had been used successfully in schools over many years. The teacher communicated the knowledge and enforced standards of behavior, right? Um, some of the things are habits, like sitting down appropriately, greeting teachers, using uniform. So in some schools, these customs have been used, successfully, and they still there. Now, in some other schools, in other educational systems, they are not using uniforms anymore. They don't go to school the whole day. They go only 4 hours. I don't know if you have read about these educational systems in Finland. Have you read about it? Well, if you haven't read about it, in Finland, they go to school only
Yes.
for 4 hours. They don't they don't take homeworks home. They don't have homeworks. They participate in projects. People that are good at math, they go to math classes. People that like sports, they go to sport classes. They have a classification. You know what I'm saying? So in our case, we are obligated to be in math, even if you don't like it, or English, the other way around. Many people at the beginning didn't like English. Now we have a lot of people that are studying English because they have noticed that it's really important. So in this traditional method, having habits, or customs was part of the system. Now, in the other hand, we have modern teaching. Okay, here it says that education reforms mean that learning is taught from a completely different angle. Progressive educational practices focus more on the individual student's needs rather than assuming all students are at the same level of understanding. The modern way of teaching is more active based, using questioning, explaining, demonstrating, demonstration and collaboration techniques. Now, as you can see in the picture, and you are not going to let me lie, modern teaching focuses on developing thinking skills. Modern teaching basically involves students' participation. Okay, in this teaching way, the teacher is not the main character of the process. In this case, the stars are the students. They are the main characters in that process, and that's something important. Why? Well, because teachers, we already know, you know what I'm saying? So, our duty is just to guide students to the knowledge, to let them experiment, to let them participate, to let them reflect, you know and of course we can demonstrate them, we can demonstrate them, we can give them some clues, but we have to let them find the answers by themselves, you know what I'm saying? So they can reflect, they can give opinions, they can ask, you know and then we can work together, we can work in groups, people can discuss a topic, and the teacher can be there just monitoring and helping when it's necessary, So these collaboration techniques are really, really important, and they increase the solving problem skills in students. And that's today's trend, today's world needs people with these skills, So I hopefully that in the future when you become teachers, you promote this. Okay, this is really, really good. Promoting uh, thinking skills. Always tell your students to investigate, to read, to find solutions. That should be our duty. That should be one of our duties. Okay. Then we have this other part. Now I'm gonna ask. Let me see. Gilberto, would you mind reading? Gilbert?
Hello, teacher.
Hello.
Reading.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Modern teaching. One modern method is spaced learning. This is when students are encouraged to quickly switch through activities. For example, providing 10 minutes of the knowledge of a subject with a PowerPoint presentation and then having 15 minutes of explore. The aim of space learning is to achieve better grades, and it works. It is claiming that this is a more effective than teaching students by traditional methods for 4 hours, thus helping the brain cells to create connections that they need to remember knowledge. It also helps people relax.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, well, it says one modern method is spaced learning. This is when students are encouraged to quickly switch through activities. For example, providing 10 minutes of knowledge on a subject with a PowerPoint presentation and then having 15 minutes of sport. The aim of space learning is to achieve better grades, and it works. Okay, now this is telling us that, for example, if we spend like some time in an activity, and then we ask students to move to do another activity, they would, they would feel relaxed and they would understand the things better. Your brain, when your brain is tired, when you feel tired, your brain is not being perceptible. You know what I mean? Like your brain is sending you messages. Well, I'm tired. I'm tired. And all of those things affect. So moving, standing up, having a small break would work, for students, would work for them. And those kinesthetic activities are really, really useful. And then it's not necessary to go out of the class. Like um, imagine like in a class, like you can ask them to stand up, to uh, play the hot potato stuff or something, do an activity in which they have to move, and that would take them to a different level. They would feel relaxed, they wouldn't feel like pressure, and they would get better results. Okay. All right, let's move. After after this slide, we're gonna have a small discussion. Okay, so this is the last one we're gonna read, and then we're gonna have a discussion. So I'm gonna read this one. It says modern teaching. The aim of space learning is to achieve better grades, and it works. It is claimed that it is more effective than teaching students by traditional methods for 4 hours, thus helping the brain cells to create connections that they need to remember knowledge. It also helps people relax, right? Now, uh, this is something that teachers are doing in Finland. Especially like they don't let students to spend a lot of time in school. You know, like being in the school from 7 to 3 p.m., for example, that is exhausting, and I understand. I understand that. However, however, in our educational system, uh, this is not happening. You know, in our traditional educational system, students are there sometimes at 7, you know, and they finish at 12 or sometimes at 3. If they are in high schools, for example, sometimes you finish at 5, and that's exhausting. So this space learning, it's basically um, having one activity between the other, but focusing on kinesthetic activities, you know. So students feel relaxed, and also the teacher, you know, and also the teacher. So it's not so demanding, and it works, you know. There are some researchers that have found useful, that they have found this method very, very useful. All right, now as a conclusion, we're going to have a discussion, okay? Having in mind that we have learned about the traditional method and about the modern method. So what we're gonna do is this: we're having group of 4 again, and I want you to discuss according to what you have gotten from this presentation. I want you to give your opinions using your own words about traditional and modern education. And I want you to also share, okay, and give reasons why you think that. And I want you to think about how you're gonna use it in the future, or if you're gonna mix some of the things about traditional with the modern, etc. Right? So let's work on that. I'm creating the groups right now. I'm gonna make group of 4. I'm creating the groups, and then you go. Okay, let's go.
So, who would like to share their opinion?
Well, I think the idea is about to make opinions about the traditional and modern education, right? Who wants to go first?
Well, I think uh, that modern teaching is better than traditional teaching, as you could read from the information provided. It is better because students have different activities to do, and they don't get bored. Because if you are only sitting down uh, and listening to the teacher, there is not like an interaction between the teacher and the students, and they gave.
Oh, I know.
Okay, the difference in traditional teacher and modern teacher.
Modern teaching.
Modern
Oh,
teacher. What do you think?
but I think the traditional teaching is is more bored for the student because they feel they feel so how to say this. They feel bored because the teacher didn't involve with them in their learning, but in the
So that disadvantage than advantages in traditional methods. One of the advantages could be that the students always pay attention and you don't have to have a management classroom. But the disadvantage is that the student always get bored and the learning process um, is not a good idea to teach that. Instead of modern method, there the teachers are innovating every class. They use the technological resources. They use didactic materials, and then they have very they have um, a lot of opportunities to to teach a creative class. That's the most advantages thing the modern methods have has. Lily and iPhone, you can share your opinions if you want.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Miguel, right? And I think there is a high difference between traditional and and the modern methods of education because, as you said, is in modern educational methods we have a lot of opportunities to teach the students. We have techniques, and for me the traditional methods are really limited because we just have one type of method and there are not too much ideas to perform a class, and you don't have uh, you the basically the teachers don't care about innovation in the traditional education instead of modern education. If we compare with nowadays, we have a lot of ways to improve education, to get to share the knowledge with the students, and besides the technology, right? Also, we have a lot of tools to guide the students and help them to build their own concept or their own knowledge. And for me, it's really useful the 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 tools that we have nowadays. And also, we have a lot of problem with traditional systems or the traditional method because a lot of teachers were adapt to that method, and nowadays they think it's too hard try to adapt their knowledge into a modern teaching.
I like your opinion. Uh,
So we're gonna wait for some minutes for the other ones to come back, and then we'll continue. Okay. Thanks for participating, and I know that you shared your opinions. Okay, they are back. They are back. Great. Now here we have this comparison, right, between the traditional and modern, in a very simple way. So we have teacher in the traditional is teacher center, sage on stage approach, one way transfer. So the teacher, two students, passive learning, students didn't participate at more. Uh, discipline, 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 specific knowledge, and lower order learning, certification, and all that. And the other side, we have modern higher education, okay? Learner center, guide on site approach, multi-way transfer, active learning. So in this method, students participate more, They were not just receiving information. They they were um, they were basically participating actively, Now, discipline for a specific and generic skills, nowadays we focus on keeping our students busy doing something in order to deal with misbehavior problems, What else? Oh, preparing post-graduation life. So in this modern education, we're getting students ready for the future, you know? We're getting them ready for the future, not just for passing a test, but for the future. And those are the important aspects of these two educational methodology or this comparison. Now, dealing with learning styles, on the other hand, would be necessary. So, in order to adapt your teaching methodology, it is necessary to learn or to know your students' learning styles, or most important, include, okay, all the type of learning styles into your way of teaching, okay? So make sure when you're teaching that you include visuals, the auditory thing or audios or whatever, and then also kinesthetic. People need to move. They need to some of them need to do something in order to learn, so you have to take that into account. So what do you mean by learning styles? Well, the term learning styles speaks to the understanding that every student learns differently. Technically, an individual's learning styles refers to the preferential way in which the students absorbs, processes, comprehends, and retain information. So when you become a teacher, in your lesson, you need to take into consideration this part, okay? You need to take into consideration this. Uh, you have to include all kind of activities, okay? Even for people that learn by looking, for people that learn by hearing, and for people that needs to move. So you need to take that into account when you're teaching, okay? Because all your students learns, all of them learn in different way, all right? Um, and here I left a quiz for you, you know, so you can take it and you can find out your learning style. Maybe you are a kinesthetic, maybe you learn by listening, or maybe you learned, by looking, by seeing, by watching videos, etc. So for this week, I left this link, which is not evaluated. However, it would be good for you to take it. And also, I left some complementary resources and, of course, the homework, right? That is a model class in which you're going to include, okay? You're going to include at least, like, these three learning styles in your lesson, okay? You're gonna record yourself in a class. You can do it through Zoom or any other tool. You can just record yourself like if you were a YouTuber, etc. And then you're gonna upload the video to YouTube, and then you're gonna send me the link. You're gonna share the link in Canvas. This is a point of your lab, okay? So make sure you take advantage of that, okay? So if you don't have any questions, we're gonna finish with this. Is there any question before leaving? Is there any question?
Uh, I have one.
Okay.
It doesn't matter the topic that we are going to teach or share.
No, no, you select the topic. It can be for basic levels, it can be for
Okay.
advanced level. It's up to you. What I want you to think, or the most important part, is that you include all these aspects, okay? All these three aspects.
Okay, I got it.
Yes. Any other question?
What would it be the duration of the video?
Oh, it can be 10 to 8 minutes if I'm not wrong. Let me see. I wrote it here. Yeah,
It is 5 to 8, I
yeah,
think.
yeah, 5 to 8 minutes.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other question?
So the thing is, we have to forget to apply the three main learning styles.
Exactly. If I was you, I would just think about three activities in which I apply one of the learning styles. Maybe an audio, maybe I don't know, maybe something with realia, etc. Right? Or if I'm teaching basic level, maybe playing the game Simon Says or something. Things like that. Is there any other question before leaving?
I have a question.
Okay.
Respect with the topic. Is free or not?
About the topic.
Yes.
Yeah, you can select any topic you want.
Okay.
Yes. Is there any other
Thank
question? More questions before leaving, guys?
Everything clear, mister.
Perfect. So it
No
has
questions.
okay. It has been a pleasure, guys. I'll see you in the next video conference. For this activity, you have until August 9th.